Well, friends, after a questionable party selection process, a very quick campaign cycle, and swings in the polls extreme enough to give you mental whiplash, Maximum Carnage is the new prime climate cultist of Canada. We have his victory speech, as well as election night announcements from Pierre Poilievre and Jagmeet Singh. We also have some responses from Doug Ford and Jason Kenney, two chief conservatives in Canada. We also have Danielle Smith, who appears to at least be willing to let Albertans decide if they want to separate from Canada, allowing for a lower threshold needed for Albertans to call a referendum. Proverbs 21 verse 1 says, quote, "The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will," close quote. We believe this, so we're not surprised. We are not afraid. We are not worried. And we are not anxious. We are confident that our God raises kings and brings nations to nothing. He does all that he pleases in heaven above and on the earth below. Nevertheless, with my jewel-encrusted tinfoil crown, I have my 5-point harness, and I'm buckled up for what's going to be a pretty bumpy ride. It's May 1st. I'm Angie DeBartolo. That's Matt Hallick. This is Liberty Dispatch.
Hey, and welcome back, dear friends, to Liberty Dispatch, where we bring you conservative news and analysis from a distinctively Christian perspective. And we are unapologetic about doing just that. So you're going to want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Rumble channel, wherever you get us. If you like what we do, you know what to do, and we suggest that you do it right now. It really helps us with the algorithms, and it helps us push these videos out wide and far over Canada and even the United States of America. So please help us out by sharing with your friends. You can get us at the Fight Laugh Feast Network as well, which is flfnetwork.com. All our shows are over there, of which there are many, as well as some other amazing good podcasts. And everything that we do, you can find us over on Substack at ldcanada.substack.com. That's ldcanada.substack.com. So definitely go over there and check us out, because if you want some sick interviews, if you want full access to those interviews like the ones we did with a bunch of CHP candidates and Rod Taylor, the party leader of the Christian Heritage Party himself, you can go over there and you can become a paid subscriber today for a very small amount.
Should
it helps
we tell them? Should we tell them the next two interviews? Should we tell them? We should tell them.
Absolutely. Let's hype them up, Andrew.
All right. So we have an interview. We're going to be filming an interview with Sam Cooper from the Bureau. That one we're going to be releasing probably in a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have an interview coming up with John Speed from End Abortion Now, pastor in Texas. He's been doing some ministry, some evangelism in Canada recently. So we're going to be doing an interview with him. It's going to be good, and I will make sure to leave the spiciest jalapeno bits to go behind the paywall for those interviews. So you definitely want to become a paid subscriber and get all that goodness.
Yeah, and you can get all access to the full interviews that we've done with men like Joe Boot, Dr. P. Andrew Sandlin, and there's some juicy bits behind that paywall that you're not going to want to miss out as well. Also, just want to let everybody know, go over, get these wonderful Make Canada Great Again hats. We definitely need that more than ever. Mega, MEHGA.ca. Hats are only $35 right now. Toques are $30. You can get a sick toque like this, although I know we're going into summer, but it's still sweet. If you like the pom-poms, get yourself a pom-pom. If you don't like the pom-poms and you just like the OG, that one too. Got a mega hat right here. Got a Make Canada Great Again hat. You definitely want to go over Mega, MEHGA.ca. Check it out there in celebration of the fact that we're still breathing. We're still alive.
Yeah, we made it.
We
You
made
did.
it through.
The world didn't blow up. We made it.
Mark's commie might be our new prime minister. He might be our new prime tyrant, but Jesus is still on the throne, and we still have an opportunity to make Canada great again. So get these hats. Let's make this a thing. I know Donald Trump kind of sewered me a little bit with the whole tariff regime and the anti-American sentiment and everything, and Polyev ran away from the whole mega movement. So that wasn't great. I didn't foresee that happening in the way that it did. But nevertheless, it's a great time to throw these on as a protest symbol of the globalist order in Canada. You definitely want to get yours. And you can get them for cheaper than ever now, because I know hard times are here and harder times are coming, because the communist in chief has won the election. But Andrew, before we get into the things that we have to talk about today, you have to talk about the second part in our wonderful Bitcoin series with Bull Bitcoin.
Yeah, our second webinar session in our Bitcoin series is happening this Friday. So this will be tomorrow, May the 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The topic is Bitcoin 101. What is it? How does it work? How do I use it? And so if you want the invite link, the only way to do that, we're not going to be sharing it publicly. It's not going on our social media. If you want to get the invite link, you have to subscribe over at our Substack, ldcanada.substack.com. The webinar is free. By the way, you can be a free subscriber. You don't have to be a paid subscriber for this. The webinar is free. There's audience participation and a Q&A. Part 3 will be happening the following Friday, May the 9th, also at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be on how to buy and hold Bitcoin. If you want to join these, again, subscribe over at our Substack. Consider becoming a paid subscriber when you do. These are really, really good. We had a great first session with Pablo, and we had some guys from Bitcoin Mentor join as well. We have a couple mailbag questions, Matt, that came in that we want to address. One's a little bit of a comment, and one's a little bit of a question. So the first one is Heather writes, this is regarding the Canada is right where God wants us to be election update that we dropped a couple days ago. She simply said, thank you very much for your kind words in this podcast. They are sorely needed. Heather,
Yeah,
my
praise
pleasure.
God.
Greg Hill, also friend of the show with Free to Fly, Air Canada pilot, also said that it was a timely word, what's needed right now. And I think it is. We need to understand that Jesus Christ is firmly in control, and there's nothing for us to worry about. Nothing for us to worry about. We had an interesting email exchange with Mr. Norm. He wrote this in an email, and whenever I get emails like this, this was all that was in the body of the email. I'm like, okay, here we go. So this is all he wrote. Quote, do you have anything good to say about anyone? You have the nerve to call yourself Christians? Really? Look at what you put on social media. Close quote.
Norm coming in hot. All right,
so
buddy.
I went on social media, and yeah, there was a post saying, Mark Carney is terrible and Doug Ford is a bad conservative. But I just went on Facebook. So I asked him, and what do you talk about? He's like, look at your Facebook feed. I'm like, okay. So I looked at our Facebook feed, and there were a few posts that was, Doug Ford's bad, Mark Carney's bad. But then I looked at everying we posted yesterday.
That's true. That's demonstrably true.
So I looked at what we posted yesterday, and we posted three things 2 days ago. Number one, I posted the second stanza from A Mighty Fortress Is Our God, which is nothing wrong with that, right? Though this world with devils filled should threaten to undo us, we will not fear, for God has willed his truth to triumph through us. The Prince of Darkness grim, we tremble not for him. His wrath we can endure, for lo, his doom is sure. One little word shall fell him. So that's great.
And that word is Jesus Christ.
That's good. So I posted that. We posted the election update. The Canada is right where God wants us to be, which is a call to be faithful and trust God.
Which we literally got comments about how wonderful and kind it was.
And we posted our interview with Rod Taylor, calling Christians to be consistent in their political engagement. So I responded back with screenshots saying, hey, Norm, these are good things, right? And he said, oh, but look at the first three posts, the ones I mentioned. And I said, yeah, but you didn't say that. You said definitively, Do you say anything good? I'm like, so clearly what you have said is demonstrably false. And then he said something else, and then I just responded back saying, I think our conversation's done because you're not being honest and you're not dealing in good faith.
Do
So
you say anything good except for all the good things that you say?
do you
Well,
say
that's
anything
one
good?
tact.
Do
That's
you
one
say
tact.
anything good in the 3 posts that are not good that I plucked out from all your
Yeah.
posts? I
Yeah.
guess not. I guess not. So, anyways, we engaged back and forth a few times. We love and appreciate your questions, your comments, your feedback. Uh, bring it on. Absolutely. We
Mhm.
also, last bit of housekeeping, we also have a great new sponsor that is partnered with us. And for
Amen.
anyone who's concerned about their security, their privacy, and the protection of their liberty, this is for you. So I am so glad that we can offer you this product at an absolutely bonkers price. Being a member of our audience, you most likely do research, watch videos, and read articles that contain good and true scientific and economic facts. But these would be sources that some people in positions of power would call a fringe minority with unacceptable views. The truth is, protecting your privacy as you engage in the online world should be a high priority for you. I want to help your online security with something that is actually safe and effective, and that is private internet access, the world's most transparent VPN provider. A VPN, or virtual private network, hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. So, say you wanted to donate money to a lawful and peaceful trucker protest in Ottawa, and you didn't want the Liberal government tracking you down and freezing your bank accounts. A VPN would be your friend, just as any Canadian would. Private internet access will also never record or store user data, and their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court and by third-party audit. It's very easy to use. Simply open up the app, click to connect, and that's it. PIA VPN is available for all platforms: Windows, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and many more. You'll also get to protect your entire household with one subscription. Our audience has access to an amazing special offer. If you sign up with private internet access by clicking on the link below and going to piavpn.com/Liberty Dispatch, you will grab a discount of 83%. That's just $2.03 a month. And you'll also get 4 extra months completely free. I don't know if you've seen the price of eggs recently, but $2.03 a month for online peace of mind is incredible. Signing up for private internet access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and 24/7 customer support is available, so don't wait any longer. Protect your personal data, get out of Big Brother's sight, go to piavpn.com/Liberty Dispatch to get 83% off private internet access with 4 free months.
There you go. Get
There you go.
over and sign up for private internet access. It is an amazing deal, as you said in the ad.
If you don't have
Andrew.
a VPN, it's the way to go. So now that you've paused the video and you've gone and you've purchased your VPN, so you're watching the rest of this episode with everyone thinking that you're somewhere in Turkmenistan, let's get into it. Mark, I don't know why I picked Turkmenistan. Mark Carney.
It was a great pick.
Mark Carney, thank you, has been elected as the new prime globalist of Canada, which means the polls were right.
They
I am
were.
vindicated.
They were.
Polyev
I was
blew
totally wrong on this one. Totally wrong on it.
Massive lead. Oh, and everyone's getting ready to move to Alberta, by the way. That's the sense I'm getting. Now, before we get into some of the details, I wanted to give you some of the numbers for you nerds. So we released an article a couple days ago called Sorting Through the Wreckage. And in the article, I went deep in the numbers and, what happened with the different parties and the voting and, Carney and his riding, Polyev and the party. So I'm not going to give all the detail. But just for anyone who hasn't read it, which, by the way, head over to our Substack, read the article and all the stuff. We release articles once a week. But I just want to give you some of the numbers so you understand what happened and what makes this election particularly distinct from both 2021 and 2019. So Quote, Mark Carney won his riding of Nepean with 63.7% of the votes, which is a significant win. The Liberal Party has thus far received just under 8,368,913 votes, representing 43.5% of all votes cast. You can see in the chart here, it's actually higher, 43.7%. The article was written before all the final votes came in. The Liberals received, as of the time I wrote the article, 2,812,078 more votes than they did in 2021, which was just over 5.5 million. That represents an increase of 50.6% in total votes cast, which is tremendous.
Yeah.
That's tremendous for the Liberals. Now, where did all these votes come from? Probably mostly from the NDP and the Green Party, who together, so NDP and Green Party together, had just under 2 million less votes than they did in 2021.
Which is significant.
Yeah. So what about the Conservative Party? Now, they're officially the opposition party. The results are also pretty interesting. The party as a whole received a total of just under 8 million, or there you can see just over 8 million votes. When I wrote the article, it was just under 8 million votes. And that represents 41.3% of the votes cast. Now, both of those numbers are up from the last election. And their increase, the Conservative increase, was 38.4% of total votes cast, which for them is 2.2 million more votes than in 2021. So the vote share is also up from 2021. So in 2021, they had 33.7% of the votes. This time around, they had 41.3%. Now, this was probably the single most binary election in our nation's history.
Yeah, together, that was the key to the outcome in this election, for sure.
Together, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party received just over 86% of all votes cast. 86%. That is an astonishing number when you consider that in 2021, the Liberals and the Conservatives together received 66.3%. So that is a jump of 20% in terms of total votes going to just two parties. So this
and
super,
I think
super divided.
Yeah. So what I think needs to be understood is the polls were right. I give absolute credit to the pollsters. I was reading things very similar to Wyatt Claypool. And I kind of thought the NDP's total collapse was exaggerated. Now I knew Juggers, our dear friend there, good beard, bad communism. I knew he was very unpopular. I knew the NDP had the long knives out for him. I knew his Liberal NDP coalition was a very costly coalition for the reputation of his party, because it basically took away their main talking point, which is, all you guys ever do is have this binary election between the Liberals and the Conservatives, and you need to find it in your heart to make the third choice, to find the third way and vote us communists into power. That's taken away when you prop up the Liberal government for close to 4 years to get not much of anything, dental care that nobody frankly uses. But that was the calculation that old Juggers made, and it really did end up in destroying the NDP, because even if we just look at this map quickly, you can see the NDP was absolutely routed, because most of the northern parts of Canada there, you see Nunavut, which is orange, but that would go for northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan, generally the Northwest Territories, and potentially Yukon as well. They generally go all orange, but you can see a lot of red there and not orange. So that tells you something serious happened. Also, in the auto sector, there in southwest Ontario, in the northern Ontario region, there's a lot of red. That's usually a lot of orange. So their epic collapse as a party, with the collapse of the Quebecois the bloc there in Quebec, who I think lost 11 seats as well, that really told the story, because those seats were picked up when all was said and done by generally the Liberals. Now, some of them actually, if you look over on the left coast there, you'll see a lot more blue than typically is there. In BC, and even areas of Alberta that generally go NDP, they went blue. So really, really interesting map. Definitely a binary choice, as you talk about, Andrew. But the polls were right. The polls were really right, and we do have to give them credit for that. They called it right. Now, I just really want to quickly just put into context. I know some people have said, it was an epic collapse for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. In one sense, I think when you think of how terrible the Liberals have governed over the last little while, you would just imagine that if you can't form government now, if you can't make that case to Canadians now, then you did drop the ball in a significant way. But the 25-point lead was kind of always a little bit of a fiction, right? Because that was compared to the Liberals with Justin Trudeau as their leader. And that was the Liberals at their very low point, I think sometime in November of 2024. So the second that Trudeau came out, Carney or another option came in, the Liberals, their number skyrocketed, which told you that, many people who voted Liberal and consistently vote Liberal were just sick of Trudeau and his antics, because it was really reflecting bad on them, right? Because they were running out of things to say to their conservative uncle at the Thanksgiving table, and they still wanted to vote Liberal. So the second you swap out the leaders, all of a sudden you have that excuse. You can make that vote with a clear conscience. And I think that has a lot to do with the closing number gap. But I do think, and I do want to obviously say this, I do think the Conservatives massively dropped the ball and failed to properly distinguish between them and the Liberals in any serious way that would cause that kind of binary choice to become more stark to people making it, right?
We're going to see that in the video clips we have this episode. We're going to see that even though there are some differences in terms of policies and fiscal responsibility, they're all beating the same drum and they're all warning of the same enemy. So with that little teaser in mind, here's some cuts from Mark Carney's victory speech that we wanted to play for you.
I chose to enter politics because I felt we needed big changes in this country.
Because Klaus Schwab told me I needed to.
Changes guided by strong Canadian values. Values that I learned at the dinner table from my parents, Canada, and from my siblings. I appreciate this more in retrospect from my siblings. My siblings, Brenda, Sean, and Brian. Values that I learned on the ice from my coaches. Values that
he's trying to sell his book
as I've met with Canadians across this great country. And those include three values that I want to highlight this evening. Humility. It's Canada after all. Ambition. It's Canada after all. And unity. It's Canada. When I sit down with
the most disingenuous human being I've ever seen,
to discuss the future economic and security relationship between two sovereign nations. And it will be with our
just look at the people behind him.
We have
I think it tells the story.
That guy behind him with the sign is totally like some sort of Secret Service agent who's just waiting for someone to jump Carney so he can shoot
that
him.
we
That's
can
his
give
whole job.
ourselves far more than the Americans can
Look
ever
at
do.
that guy with the sign. Look at him. Look, he was like.
But even given that, I want to be clear. The coming days and months will be challenging.
Here we go. Listen to this. Here we go. This part's important.
They will call for some sacrifices.
Oh,
but
I bet they will.
Share those sacrifices.
Oh, communism.
Supporting our workers and our businesses.
Socialism.
Canada is more than a nation. We are and we always will be a confederation.
Post-nation state.
A sacred set of ideas and ideals built on practical foundations. That we know we're not always perfect, but we always strive to be good. We do things because they're right, not because they're easy. That we see kindness as a virtue, not as a weakness. Most importantly, we know that our strength lies in our resolve to work together as a country. It relies on our unity.
Why did they put the teleprompter in front of him?
Future for our
He's looking off to the side all the time.
A future that makes the greatest country on the earth even better. Together, we will build a Canada worthy of our values. We will build Canada strong, Canada free, Canada forever. Vive le Canada. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
So all there you have it.
By the way, just virtue, right, values, principles mean nothing to him. Just they mean nothing to him. They're hollowed out. They have no foundation. And I would argue that those words and how he would define them would be completely distinct from the actual principles, values, and virtues upon which Canada has been founded. Mm-hmm. And not only would he stand in direct opposition to all of them, he would probably ridicule and mock those actual foundational virtues and values and principles and right things that made Canada what it was. Mm-hmm. And he's going to make Canada into his own image, which is completely different than what it actually is. So that's just a lot of double speak.
Yes. And that actually, Andrew, that actually comes out, like I've read his book. I've read, it's terrible. I wouldn't recommend everybody do it, but if you want to read, I would suggest maybe the first 3 chapters, the latter 3, those are kind of maybe the most important. The rest is just, painful. It's all pretty painful, but the entire book, Andrew, is exactly what you're talking about. It is this giant manipulation predicated on exactly what out of the WEF playbook, right? You set up a crisis, then you set yourselves up as the only people who are able to manage that crisis in any serious fashion. And what Carney does is exactly what you're talking about. He kind of posits this idea of the common good, obviously, that he defines by his values. These are the values of the globalists, the internationalists, the Laurentian elites. And then he uses this. His entire book is built on a category error predicated on the informal logical fallacy of equivocation. He equivocates between economic evaluation, which is subjective, and moral values, ethical values. And because they're the same word, he equivocates on the word in order to create a situation in which, for the greater good, the common good that he defines, obviously, he can then justify the implementation of a command and control economy, which is predicated on stakeholderism. You've probably heard the term stakeholder capitalism, WEF, right? That's Klaus Schwab's thing. It's a euphemism. It has nothing to do with capitalism, okay? It's stakeholderism. I'll link in the description below for you, extended podcast on what that means. But just in a nutshell, it is corporatism. It's fascism, like the actual fascist economic system. And this is what Carney values. This is what Carney has grifted off of, right? He's the guy who's made millions pushing the green transition on NGOs and businesses at the bidding of the WEF with the force of the European Union and other world governments. That's what he values. That's where he's taking Canada. And don't let him lie and pretend he's not a crazy ideologue who wrote like a 400-page book on this very thing. He's not a pragmatist. He's an ideologue, and he is a globalist par excellence. He is the Davos man, and he will be pushing Canada towards this ideology. He's a dangerous, 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 dangerous man. And bland speeches and silly, inauthentic sloganeering aside, Mark Carney is a dangerous prime minister. And I just wanted to highlight that for him. And I think you see it here, Andrew, in his speech, because the one thing that really stuck out to me, no longer using it to get elected, right? He's already thrown up the crisis, trade wars, Canada, United States relationship. That's already, he's thrown that out. That's a crisis that got him elected because the boomers believe those lines, right? That got him elected. Still, in his speech, he talks about the change, the upcoming crisis, the total change in the relationship that Canada has to America, and the fact that we're ditching America, we're leaving them behind, and we're going to pursue new relationships. Who are those relationships with? China and Europe, dying Europe and totalitarian China. That's who he values. Those are the strategic partnerships that he's made to make him millions and millions and millions of dollars. And there's no place in the world that puts stakeholderism into practice greater than China. Because the problem with stakeholderism, Andrew, it speaks in this fancy language where it says everybody's a stakeholder. Well, what's the problem? If everybody's a stakeholder, finish the sentence, Andrew.
Then nobody is.
Exactly. Then who becomes the actual stakeholder? Man writ large, the state. And that's how stakeholderism translates practically into fascism. The stakeholders become the government who controls the stakes of the game. That's what we're dealing with. That's what this man is orienting Canada towards. And he's going to continue to throw Canada in this post-national globalist hellhole and push us towards those ends. And
so, like I said at the lead-in, grab your tinfoil crown, get your 5-point, get your 5-point harness, and buckle up. Lots of action happened on election night. We want to play you some cuts from Pierre Poilievre's kind of bittersweet. The Conservative Party seems to have done better, but he lost in his own riding in Carleton.
Yeah.
Let's play some clips from that now.
We congratulate people from all political backgrounds on participating in the democratic process. And as I said, while we will do our constitutional duty of holding government to account and proposing better alternatives, we will always put Canada first as we stare down tariffs and other irresponsible threats from President Trump. Conservatives will work with the Prime Minister and all parties with the common goal of defending Canada's interests and getting a new trade deal that puts these tariffs behind us while protecting our sovereignty and the Canadian people.
Almost 8 years ago, I was elected the leader of this incredible party, this incredible movement. I've worked really hard to be worthy of this trust, to live up to the legacy of our movement. Hold on a sec, I guess. Thank you. One more sec. Tonight, I've been informed our party leader that I'll be stepping down as party leader as soon as an interim leader can be appointed.
Did he say that he informed the party leader that he'll be stepping down as party leader?
I think he didn't realize what he was saying because he was at on the verge of tears there.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I found this when I was watching his speech. It was the same thing with Kamala Harris. That was the best speech he's ever given. And interestingly enough, I mean, there was some woke stuff in it, but it was almost like him at his most human. Like it was him as at his most real. And he was talking about his wife and his kids and his parents. And I thought, you know, this, of all the versions of Jagmeet Singh, this is my favorite one. I mean, it's my favorite one because it's on the way out, but it's also my favorite one because he had a humanness about him, and I found that to be interesting.
We missed the opportunity to make that shirt. That I might never stop regretting that.
That's okay. You know what? In my mind, it's a done deal. It's a done deal in my mind. So
you're wearing it right now.
There will be another bearded communist for us to make a shirt about in the future.
You know what? I think I'm going to link in the description an episode of the podcast for Cultural Reformation by the Ezra Institute, where our former colleague, Dr. Mike Thiessen, and our friend, Pastor Nate Wright, talk about Sikhism. Because I think it might help our listeners, our neighbors in Canada, understand how Sikhism has really lends itself to the kind of world and life view that Jagmeet Singh employed. How there's like latent in the religion this push to syncretism and globalism and actually revolutionary politics, and that Jagmeet Singh and the Khalistani movement and all this stuff really do embody the values of Sikhism quite well. So I just think it was an interesting deep dive. I think people might like it, and I think it might help people understand men like Jagmeet Singh a little bit more. But yeah, it's good to see, obviously, the humility from both these men who lost, one in much more significant and crushing fashion than the other. The fact that the NDP is no longer an official party, it doesn't have official party status based on these election outcomes in Canada, that in the time of Jagmeet Singh, it basically went from the official opposition to no longer having relevant, two-party status, or, it was shortly after it was, I guess, the official opposition, but still, it's been a precipitous decline. And the only thing that can really, that really makes it make sense is the fact that leftists in Canada consolidated their vote. They did much like they did in Europe in multiple ridings, most notably in France. The leftists consolidated their vote, right? The Green Party didn't run 100 different candidates in the most swing ridings for leftists in order to prop up the Liberals. Okay? The NDP's precipitous collapse. Those votes went to the Liberals. So the consolidation of the leftist vote in Canada is definitely a huge reason why the Conservatives won, and why Pierre Poilievre had to get on that stage and deliver a speech of defeat. And at that time, I don't even believe he knew, Andrew, the outcome of his own riding in Carleton there in Ottawa.
They didn't, but what was happening is every new cache of votes that came in were basically the same percentage going to Bruce Fanjoy and Pierre Poilievre. So they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
It's also here. So quickly, I want to speak to something before we move on. A lot of people were saying it's fishy. There's some rig stuff. How did Poilievre lose? Right. So let me say, I don't think there's any real significant evidence of of tomfoolery. I mean, this isn't like the United States with the digital
there were
ballots
certainly
and like,
shenanigans, right?
yeah,
Like,
but nothing. But there are actual very reasonable explanations and legitimate reasons for why Poilievre lost. Number one, the actual voting map shifted a little bit of
Yes.
Carleton, and
well,
also
that's part of the shenanigans I'm talking about.
well, but the bigger deal was that 40 to 50,000 immigrants relocated or were moved into that geographic area, and almost all of them broke liberal. And I will say, this is Poilievre's own fault, or I will say he has no one to blame but himself, because he did not distinguish himself from the liberals on immigration. He was indistinguishable. So the very thing that he refused to stand on and be a principled conservative is the thing that led to him losing his seat that he's held for 20 years. So this is what happens when you're not really conservative. You lose, but you also lose for the for the very same reason, or you lose for the very, and the cause of it is the thing that you should have taken a stronger conservative position on. So I think he lost fair and square.
Before we move on, we should, but so I do want to talk about some of the shenanigans that it probably shouldn't be allowed, right? We're talking about the longest ballot initiative. There was 91 people on the ballot in Carleton.
Right, but anyone can register.
Yeah, no, Andrew, I get it. I'm not saying that anybody cheated or somehow voter fraud. I'm saying, but none of
those votes, none of those other 85 people took away from the Conservatives.
No. And that's not what I'm saying. But it certainly was to obfuscate things, right? There was a purpose for it. There's credible sources that said Doug Ford's team was behind the scenes on the ground, potentially aiding and abetting the Liberals in helping them get elected in that riding. So when you have all that with all the other stuff, certainly there were shenanigans going on. But I think you're right, Andrew. I think a lot of it's the shifting demographic, the shifting actual riding. Those are the two things that probably at the end of the day led to the change in the seat that Pierre Poilievre has been in for the last 20 years. So really quick, what happens now? Well, it looks like he's going to be staying on as party leader. In that speech,
someone be his ambassador in Parliament.
Yes. So in that speech, he never said he was stepping down as leader. It appears that he's going to continue on in that spot. Given some of the highlights we talked about for the Conservatives, I'm not surprised at that, right? They had their best showing since I wonder if he
pulls a Carney. I wonder if he pulls a Carney and takes a Conservative MP that maybe whatever, take it or leave it.
Yes.
And then the Conservative MP is like, oh, I'm retiring. Oh, there's Poilievre, he's back.
Yes. Well, that's most certainly will be what happens. That one of the MPs will step down in their riding.
Fall on their sword.
It'll go to a by-election. And that by-election, though, and this is a significant part in an unstable minority government situation. Pierre Poilievre will not be able to be in the House of Commons, where he does some of his best work, for at least 7 to 9 months by the time that all this is said and done for. That's the way that it's going to work. And crazy enough, believe it or not, Mark Carney gets to determine when the by-election happens. Now, there's parameters on how late that it has to happen. I think 6 months after the person steps down. That's why I'm saying 7 to 9 months. But when all is said and done, he might be out of the House of Commons until November of this year because of the fact that he lost his seat. So it is a rather difficult situation, a black cloud over the Conservatives. But I think you're right, Andrew. This is what you get when you are conservatives. And I think when are we going to realize that Christless conservatism is dead? It's failed. It's useless. It doesn't have teeth. It doesn't fight well enough.
A friend of mine who ran in a previous election as a PPC candidate, but didn't this time. He posted something on social media. He said, "What do you call it when you compromise on all your principles and values and still don't win?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Ouch. That's what you call it. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. No, and that's seriously what we're dealing with. And
so you and I have a lot of work. You and I have work for days. I mean, we have no shortage of work. We have a job here, and as long as people decide that they think it's valuable because we're going to shoot straight and they continue to support the work that we do, we have no shortage of work for the next 4 years.
And that gets to a comment, like the comment off the start from our friend there who was criticizing us not being nice, right? We abide by the 10 commandments, but not by the made up 11th commandment, thou shalt be nice. And the reality is we have a prophetic role. I think there's a place for more prophecy in politics. And being a prophet never wins you any friends. Just read scripture. It never wins you any friends. It wins you enemies.
I can also be nice. Come on.
Yeah,
I can be nice.
Of course.
I mean, not to anybody who Carney, but
no. Anybody who actually knows us would describe us as nice and friendly. But the fact of the matter is we will not say peace, peace, peace when there is no peace. Yeah. We will not bring upon ourselves the woe, the oracle of woe from God Almighty when we're not, when in the times that we're in. We're not going to say peace, peace, peace when there is no peace. We're not going to bring silver linings when we need to learn the cold, hard facts of the situation. But we should move on. We have other things to say about the election, but that's just some of my initial thoughts from the initial results and obviously the commentary there from
Canada's in economic upheaval. What should you do? Good question. Inflation through the roof.
Grocery prices up 11% year over year.
Censorship of dissident voices. Freezing of bank accounts.
Justin Trudeau invoking emergency powers against the truckers. Banks can now freeze their personal accounts, the accounts of anyone linked to the Freedom Convoy.
Digital surveillance and communism spreading.
What do we want? Basic income!
With the basic income, I felt a sense of security because I didn't have to worry about not going hungry, and I didn't have to worry about being kicked out of my apartment.
The government is on the verge of bankruptcy, and they're coming for your money.
Is Canada's federal debt increasing in real time, now surpassing $1.2 trillion. This debt is draining taxpayer dollars, with interest alone costing $54 billion this year.
It's time to break free and start saving in money they can't take from you. Since 2013, the folks at Bull Bitcoin have one mission: destroy central banking. Bull Bitcoin is the most trusted Bitcoin company in Canada. They empower you to buy, sell, and pay bills with Bitcoin. They are 100% non-custodial, which means that you always maintain full control over your Bitcoin, allowing you to reclaim your financial sovereignty and secure your wealth for the future. Their customer support will assist you throughout the whole process, helping you get your hands on the hardest money ever created. Escape their financial gulag, click on the link below, and start buying Bitcoin today and get a $20 bonus as a listener of Liberty Dispatch.
Let's go! Oh man, every time. Just
wait, Matt. Just wait until I put the the maximum carnage night rises video. You just wait. And everyone's like, what does that mean? Matt and I had a whole conversation off screen about an idea. So should I tell? I'm going to tell them a little bit.
No.
Okay.
Just we'll drop it on them. They won't.
All I'm going to do is this. Hold on, I have to do one thing though. Okay, this is it. Okay,
you do your thing.
That's all I'm going to do. And then, okay, so
All
we
right.
have some
thoughts
from
on
other
the cons, Andrew.
conservatives. Okay, so the spiciest part of the election night, by far, was former Doug Ford chief of staff Jamil Javani. He won as a federal conservative in Oshawa, so he used to be connected to the provincial conservatives. He gives his thoughts on old "Don't Teach Me How to Dougie" Doug Ford communists.
Tonight, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we have a great team here in Bowmanville, Oshawa North. Very excited and happy to bring home a victory.
I do want to ask you, Mr. Giovanni, because you've just spoken to your supporters, a large group that's here at the pub here in Bowmanville, North Oshawa, and you said to them, among other things, that Doug Ford was a problem for you in this campaign. You said that he sabotaged the Conservative campaign. That's your words. You said he was a hype man for the Liberals. Take me through how you see that.
Yeah, well, look, Doug Ford just went through an election. I have differences of opinion with him. I don't like how he's managed healthcare or education, but out of respect, we didn't say anything. Federal party, we didn't get in his way. When it was our turn to run an election, he couldn't stay out of our business, always getting his criticisms and all his opinions out, distracting our campaign, trying to make it about him, trying to position himself as some kind of political genius that we needed to be taking cues from.
Was it him specifically? Was it his campaign manager, Corey, tonight? Do you see Doug Ford as a problem for the federal party in the outcome of this race?
I see Doug Ford as a problem for Ontario and for Canada. I think he's not doing a great job in running this province.
That's true.
And now he's trying to exercise his influence over other levels of government. And it's not like this guy is doing anything particularly well. I mean,
you did used to work for him.
I did. I'm speaking from experience. I tried to fix problems in this province, and he kept getting in his way and all his goons around him all the time. They wouldn't make anything better. And now we're seeing him because this guy's a political genius because he beat Bonnie Crombie and Stephen Del Duca. And now we got to sit around getting advice from him? No. He has taken the provincial Conservative Party and turned it into something hollow, unprincipled, something that doesn't solve problems. He's glad-handing with Chrystia Freeland, having coffees and lattes with Mark Carney. And I'm sitting here saying we need to be fighting for change and something new and something different, not being a hype man to the Liberal Party.
Real quick, Andrew.
Get Jamil on the show. I'm going to see if I can reach out to Jamil. We should get him on the show.
No.
I think he's one of the only conservatives that I think we can have on the show.
I appreciate that from Jamil. But my one caution would be, I think that criticism might it might prove too much. Because to me, that is actually indicative of the Conservative Party. Emphasis on con is that it is hollowed out. It is unprincipled. And that's ultimately, as a Conservative Party, not conservative at all. Yeah. And I think Doug Ford is the worst example of that. But it certainly is true about the Conservatives as a whole. And that is something that I think after this election, after the continued losses that they're stacking up over and over again, they might want to do some soul searching on that point.
So we also had some thoughts from old Buckabeer, Captain Canada, Don't Teach Me How to Dougie, Doug Ford.
He is so annoying.
So I'm not.
He just looks like a big dummy. He just looks like a big, stupid, dumb man.
Why didn't that guy send you the email about not saying anything nice? So we're not going to play the whole 8 minutes for you because we love you too much. But what we did do is we clipped several parts from his little press conference, and you're going to notice something. And we noticed this with Maximum Carnage. We noticed this with Polyev, the devil in the blue dress. We're going to see this in a bit with Jason Kenney. We're seeing this all over the legacy media. Everyone agrees that the threat to Canada is not globalism or wokeism or a hollowed out economy or the way that we have devastated our own country internally. No, that's not the problem. The problem is, and you'll see with Doug Ford, he's going to tell you what the problem is.
So there's a wide range of items that we have to focus on, but I can tell you one thing, it's not business as usual. That's not going to cut it. We have to make sure that we move fast, immediate, or if not, President Trump is going to eat our lunch. That's what it comes down to. There's one person that's causing a real problem. not just here, around the world, and that's President Trump.
Ding.
We all need to work together to look at the common problem right now is these tariffs from President Trump.
Ding.
That's the single number one issue. And as I said during my campaign, I'm going to do everything in my power to protect the people of Ontario, protect their jobs, protect their communities, and protect businesses. I'm a strong believer in building pipelines right across the country, no matter if it's west, north, or east,
Carney
to get our energy out to markets around the world and stop being so reliant on the U.S. And I just want to move the province forward, fight against these tariffs, no matter what it takes, protect the people of this province. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go. With conservatives like this, Andrew, who needs the commies?
Those were that's the same soulless, dead behind the eyes gaze that I had to put up with almost every day when he delivered his press conferences during COVID. Anyways, there's not much to say other than
he does look like he's wearing a leather mask of his own face.
Right.
I'll just say that.
The enemy is not. It's not the woke behemoth. The enemy is not the liberals who've devastated our country. It's Trump. Trump's the real enemy. So here's Jason Kenney. So Jason Kenney is on the CBC. He was with Rosemary Barton and then some token French lady that I'm sure makes maple syrup in her backyard on snow or whatever. So here's Kenney trying to do his best to dump. Yeah, well, but anyways, so he's trying to do his best to dump on the Trump train, that's the Canadian thing to do nowadays, right? So being Canadian, what does it mean to be Canadian? Elbows up, and we don't like Donald Trump. That's our identity is now all wrapped up in that. Yeah. So here he is, again, just parroting the narrative on the CBC.
I congratulate Mr. Carney. I think he's a phenomenally talented man. And as a conservative, I wish him nothing but the best in standing up for this country against the threats and intimidation of Donald Trump. I was very happy to hear Pierre say that tonight. Yeah, that was that while his constitutional job is to hold the government to account, he will stand united with the government in defending Canada's interests. That's critical.
Yep. That's the problem, right? The problem is Trump, and Carney's he's a very talented man. I mean, I guess talented at destroying nations. Yeah, he's great at that.
Yeah, I will give him credit though. He did dunk on Rosemary Barton pretty good at 1 or 2 points during the live election coverage, but that's not really hard to do because Rosemary Barton is like the extra liberal version in a female body of like Doug Ford, I think. It's bad, but Jason Kenney is a fake he's a conservative par excellence, and I mean we don't have to go any farther than how he ran the country or how he ran his province in Alberta, the Texas of Canada during COVID. The problem so much with the cons, Andrew, are that the people, there's been lots of conversations on this, the people that surround these MPs live and exist, they live and move and have their being in the swamp of Ottawa, of that political system. They live under the liberal gaze, and they are creatures of that ecosystem, whether or not they're conservative or not. Kenney is a red conservative at best. None of these people are social conservatives. Kenney why he would even go on CBC's coverage, he just gives them an air of respectability where they can say, "Oh, we had a former conservative premier on. Look, we're not biased." These conservatives are the very conservatives who have got us to where we are in our nation. And we need to have a gut check. We need to get rid of the swamp creatures. And I would suggest that the next time Pierre Poilievre runs in this country, it's not with whoever the lady was that was running his campaign who did a terrible job. or the Tanuki guy who is annoying and vulgar and foul, and obviously a Doug Ford goon. What we need is actual real Canadians who are real conservatives giving some real good political advice, because basically all the political instincts of the Conservative Party and their advisors have been wrong for now like almost 2 decades. And that's the part that really comes out to me, that crisis conservatism can't die soon enough. Unprincipled conservatism that isn't conservative at all must die. And conservatives have to fight on principle and distinguish themselves from the liberals, because that's how Carney was able to make this an election about Trump. He removed the bits that were the most scary and pressing and urgent by just saying, "Oh, I can agree to do those. Let's get rid of the carbon tax for the time being." And then there was not enough distinction between the two parties, and then he just pounded over and over again this made-up crisis, and that's how he got elected. And if the Conservatives hadn't been on cruise control running against Trudeau and not actually principled and building their popularity by their programs and actually giving this massive choice distinction between the two, I think they would have won running away, and I think they would have got more people out to vote. And they certainly, I think, would have killed parties like the UCP or the PPC. Some of these parties, the CHP, some of those parties on the right, the vote would have consolidated more towards them. And in a binary situation, this is what they're going to have to come to. They're going to have to run for those votes and then make the arguments to try and convert the liberals. And that's the only way it's going to work if we're going to be in this binary situation.
So other than the clip you just watched, which we made you watch, you don't get your news from the CBC. You probably don't get your health advice from Dr. Fauci. You probably didn't take science lessons from Bill Nye, the unscience guy. And if you're listening to this show, I know you didn't vote for Mark Carney. So when it comes to investing, why are you taking advice from the same characters? They all want you to stick with the big banks and to keep investing in multinational mutual funds and passive ETFs. It's time to stop playing their game. Call Rocklinc Investment Partners. They're proudly Christian and Canadian. No ESG, no woke nonsense, just practical financial advice and shrewd investment management from leading investment professionals. Call our friends at Rocklinc at 905-631-5462 or email them info@rocklinc.com. So we have Carney's speech, we have Poilievre and Jagmeet, their speech, we have Jamil Javani going off on Doug Ford and his response, we have Jason Kenney's response. One more response we want to look at, and that is Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. Not only had some initial thoughts on Mark Carney as the new prime fascist, she's also taking active steps to secure Albertan protections, prosperity, and it appears an increased ability to secede from Canada if that's what the people of Alberta want. So she posted this on X. We're going to have it up on the screen, but I want to read it in its entirety for you. Quote, I congratulate Prime Minister Mark Carney on his minority government election victory last night. I also want to sincerely thank Pierre Poilievre for his powerful and principled advocacy against the last decade's punitive taxation and anti-resource policies that have made our country weaker, more divided, and overly dependent on the United States. See, even her, she has to, everyone's got to pick on the U.S. Trump boogeyman thing, even just a little bit, but whatever. There's a lot of good stuff here. Mr. Poilievre's vision for a safer, more affordable, united, and prosperous Canada drove the policy debate in this country for the last several years and has inspired millions to see the unique potential of our nation. While Liberals and New Democrats demeaned and demonized Albertans, our values, and our industries for political gain, Mr. Poilievre made empowering Albertans and our energy sector a cornerstone of his campaign. His respect and admiration for Albertans could not have been clearer. He is and continues to be a true friend to Alberta. As Premier, I invite the Prime Minister to immediately commence working with our government to reset the relationship between Ottawa and Alberta with meaningful action rather than hollow rhetoric. A large majority of Albertans are deeply frustrated by the same government that overtly attacked our provincial economy almost unabated for the past 10 years that has been returned to government. Close quote. This is getting spicy. Let's get the spicy from Danielle.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Premier Smith continues. As Premier, I will not permit the status quo to continue. Praise God. Albertans are proud Canadians that want this nation to be strong, prosperous, and united, but we will no longer tolerate having our industries threatened and our resources locked out by Ottawa. In the weeks and months ahead, Albertans will have an opportunity to discuss our province's future, assess various options for strengthening and protecting our province against future hostile acts from Ottawa, and ultimately choose a path forward. As Premier, I will facilitate and lead this discussion and process with the sincere hope of securing a prosperous future for our province within a united Canada that respects our province's constitutional rights, facilitates rather than blocks the development and export of our abundant resources, and treats us as a valued and respected partner within Confederation. Our government will be holding a special caucus meeting this Friday to discuss this matter further. I will have more to say after the meeting has concluded, and here is actually a portion of a press conference that Premier Danielle Smith held just 2 days ago.
We are expanding opportunities for Albertans to be involved in direct democracy by making changes to the threshold needed for successful citizens' initiatives. The signature collection time for citizens' initiatives will be extended from 90 days to 120 days. We are also improving the process by setting the threshold to be 10% of the number of eligible voters who participated in the last general election, as opposed to being either 10 or 20% of total registered voters. Additional amendments will update rules to make it easier for Albertans to hold their elected officials accountable through MLA recall. These changes would extend the recall signature collection time from 60 days to 90 days and lower the signature threshold to be 60% of the total number of electors who voted in the electoral district in the most recent election, as opposed to 40% of the total number of electors in the riding. Recall legislation and citizens' initiatives give Albertans more ways to be directly involved in democracy and to have their say on issues that matter to them.
So I just want to
good, Danielle.
I want to make so people are wondering, what does it all mean? So I'm just going to give you the numbers, and we're going to go from there. What this means is that if Albertans decide that they would like to call a referendum and see Alberta separate from Canada and leave the Confederation, rather than have 90 days to accumulate 600,000 signatures, they now have 120 days to accumulate 208,000 signatures. That is
bueno.
30. That's so what we're dealing with is 33% more time to get 1/3 of the votes, 1/3 of the signatures. And she said it
definitely going to happen, by the way.
We want Albertans to be more involved. We want Albertans to hold their MLAs accountable and the government accountable. So she's basically, Alberta, if you want to hold a referendum to leave Canada, you need 200,000 signatures, and you have 4 months to do it. instead of 600,000 signatures in
this is
3 months.
This is a piece of
big deal.
shrewd politicking, and I have 200,000 signatures in Alberta.
10%. Only 10% of the people. So it's not a percentage of eligible voters. It's only a percentage of the people who did vote.
Voted. Yes, and that's easy. That's easy.
And that meeting she's talking about, by the way, as of time of recording, that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll be talking about that meeting next week, both in our show, and I might write about it. But whatever this meeting is coming out on Friday, as it tomorrow, combined with this and what she said, I mean, what it seems like what Danielle Smith is saying is Alberta is it's all the things that Tim Stevens was talking about when I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Right. It seems what she's saying is we're tired of getting a raw deal. I thought our Constitution ensured certain rights and certain privileges,
and it does.
We're not experiencing.
They're only if they're protected and respected.
We're not getting a fair shake. So that means if we want to give our citizens the opportunity to leave, they can. We'll entertain it. And really, Danielle Smith does have Canada by the short and curlies because
absolutely.
I was talking with a buddy of mine earlier. If Alberta says we're done, the East Coast will basically implode. The East Coast will not be able to survive without
those equalization payments. They have no economy out there.
And Quebec is also in a world of trouble.
Quebec has to take billions in transfer payments, despite being like the second most populous province in they have their GDP is like per capita is terrible. The East in Canada is not a viable nation without Alberta, just Alberta. That needs to be understood. And if Alberta goes, there is a high likelihood that Saskatchewan will follow. And now we're talking about the two most prosperous provinces in Canada right now, with the greatest amount of agriculture and natural resources.
And Saskatchewan, I believe, went entirely blue. I think Saskatchewan they went entirely blue.
Except
I don't
for
think
northern Saskatchewan.
No, but that doesn't count. Whatever.
No,
we don't count that.
No, and I think the provinces would be happy to say, yeah, if you want to stick with Canada, see you later.
So at this point, I want to postulate my
your grand conspiracy theory.
Well,
your 4D chests conspiracy theory.
It's not new. I actually posted about that. I posted about the 4D
I know.
chest.
I saw it.
So it's not new because I was holding on to this as an opportunity all the way back when when I interviewed David Haskell, but even before then, I've been asking the question, right? So, and I asked this question of Tim when I interviewed him, and I've been thinking, Trump, there's no way Trump wants all of Canada. Like, he would get another California. I mean, just look at this election. He would get another California. The last thing you want is another Democrat. You don't want another Democrat. So forget about the size of Canada, which is an issue, but just the voting block of Canada. You do not want another California. You do not want another Democrat in the Senate. You just don't want it. It's not, it's bad for Canada. So what's the play? Is the play Canada or maybe Trump? And it's not, people say Trump is surrounded by rather brilliant strategists and economists who are not dummies. Like this, everyone's like,
smarter than others.
Trump's just doing his thing for no reason. I mean, Trump has some good people around him. Okay.
Yeah.
What if the play? This has been the play all along. The play is we do a little bit of chicken with Canada, and we keep saying, "Oh, we're here for Canada," knowing that this will disrupt our politics, knowing this will force our leaders to take sides. And you do it and you favor a certain outcome, knowing that Canada will enter into chaos and disrepair sooner under a liberal government. So your design is to make Canada unstable, not so that you can take all of Canada, so that you ultimately force what you really want out of Canada, which is Alberta. And why does that make sense? Well, first of all, 95% of the oil that Alberta sells, they sell to the United States already.
Yeah, literally, they have special refineries in the United States for Alberta oil.
The only premier to head down to congratulate Trump on his inauguration was Danielle Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other premiers went to, how dare you, Donald? But to actually go and congratulate, it was just Danielle Smith. Alberta does business with them. Alberta's friendly. So maybe that's been the play all along. Maybe the play all along is you shake it up, and so that Canada quickens its descent into self-destruction, forcing Alberta to decide whether or not they leave. And if they do leave, I mean, the pitch for the United States, right? If you're making a pitch to Alberta, say either your own independent nation or you come under our wing, I mean, that's a sweet deal. And then not only do you get what you want, but as the neighbor to Alberta sees just how amazing life is for Alberta, now that they're the 51st state, maybe Saskatchewan decides it has its own referendum. And now, not only do you have Alberta and Saskatchewan, but you almost have a straight shot right up to Alaska. So what if that's the play? What if the play all along was get Alberta, maybe Saskatchewan, in order that you get that straight? Now you have a geographic, now you have a truly united states where all of the states are actually united geographically. You get the two economic powerhouses in Canada, which are also the most non-woke in Canada. It's nothing but benefits. And if you make Alberta the 51st state, you've basically given yourself another, I don't want to say Texas because the big cities are woke in Texas, but you've given yourself like another South Dakota.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's very good likelihood, to me, and I think you talked about it with Tim, and we've certainly talked about it. This was always the play that made the most sense. Alberta becoming the 51st state. Why wouldn't Alberta do it? Like, what give me a negative other than some weird nostalgia and elbows up Canadian unity.
No more stopping you from trading all your resources. No more stopping you from being as prosperous as you want. Oh, and by the way, you can carry your guns now.
We should note, right? What is the first thing the Bloc Quebec says upon the election being over?
We'll work with the Liberals.
France, we're going to work for the Liberals, and they're going to give us a great opportunity to stop pipelines in Canada, to destroy the Albertan economy. That's where we're at. So that is a radically transparent approach by the Bloc, and that's a shot across the bow for Alberta. And so not only do you have the pain of this stinking election, bad outcome, but Alberta's more conservative than they've ever been and more fired up than they've ever been. And this is a path forward for Alberta prosperity that I think they're going to take. I really do think this is going to happen.
Now, here's how this is going to be tricky, though. So the way it works is the individual province holds its referendum, and if the province votes to leave, according to the Clarity Act, Parliament still needs to give the final approval. So it's the province just doesn't leave. So technically, Alberta just can't leave unless they leave by force, or unless they welcome annexation from the United States.
Well,
if Alberta,
I'm sure
says we're going to leave, Parliament still has to give the okay.
Yeah, there's no way that's going to be a real impediment. If Alberta decides to leave and votes in a referendum to go, and especially given the history that, the Parliament said that they would respect Quebec's ability to do that. If they Alberta's going to fly off the handles, and they're going to welcome, and they're going to have Donald Trump there to support them.
But Quebec doesn't benefit and contribute to the rest of the country like Alberta does.
No. I know.
Ottawa has been, Central Canada has basically been the abusive boyfriend that
Yes.
continues to take advantage
But
and says, you can never leave me, you can never leave me.
Yes.
And then the moment, or says, okay, fine, leave me, go. What are you going to do? And the moment she finally leaves, oh no, you can't go. Well, I'm not going to let you go.
Yes.
That's what they're going to try to do. This will be very curious.
That's where the United States would step in. And then they would have the predicate to say that this is a sovereign jurisdiction in Alberta that voted to secede from Canada. And just like they have always done, these jerks from Eastern Canada are stopping them from. So then we're going to come in and we're going to support the democratic rights of a citizen. Then you kind of look good in doing that.
Now that gets now.
Oh, it
now
gets wild.
Now we're talking Civil War,
wild.
Baby. Now we're talking Civil War, baby.
Well, I don't think so. If the states are going to step in on Alberta's behalf, I mean, what is Canada going to do? Nothing. They're going to do nothing. I mean, these are wild hypotheticals.
Unless you force the Americans to actually take up arms, because you are not you'll let Quebec go. Listen, let them go. Honestly, let them go. Bye-bye, Quebec. We don't need you. Bye-bye. Goodbye. I'm done with driving through there and everything's in French. It's gross. But other than that,
Andrew,
Alberta's the cash cow. You don't want them to
of course. Go. No, I get it. I get what you're saying.
I think the play is, and I can anticipate the federal government saying, Alberta, you're not leaving. And here's how we know you're not leaving. Because we have the RCMP in your entire province to make sure you need to do what we say. Mm-hmm. So the play is then the United States would say, well, we will free them from your tyranny, right? They're a sovereign nation. They want to go. They're a sovereign state. They want to go. Mm-hmm. And
who are you?
No. So we're going to free. So I mean, I don't foresee a peaceful.
It's going to get ugly.
We'll just let Alberta go. I don't know if they would let Alberta go without.
I don't know.
Some force behind it.
Well, yeah.
I'd be very curious to see.
I don't know.
Why would they, or maybe, you know what? Oh no, how about this? Okay, so what if the ultimate goal? Okay, you know what? If the ultimate goal of the globalists is to destroy Canada, then yeah, you do let Alberta go. If you let Alberta go,
well, I honestly don't think they have enough chips. I don't think they have enough chips. And if
the chips are Alberta, by being a part of this confederation, you have legally signed on to this agreement that Parliament has to approve you leaving. No, and we're not going to let you go because we have the RCMP there. Yeah, but if the globalists want to destroy Canada, and by destroying Canada, that allows you to allow for a global rule and a global currency and a global police system. If really what you want is a UBI, oh yeah, you know what? Alberta going is the pretext for a UBI. It's the pretext for CBDCs. It's the pretext for a new globalist currency. It's the pretext for maybe joining the EU or having some sort of... So maybe Alberta going is exactly what's needed to plunge Canada into a dystopian hellhole, which is what the globalists want.
We're definitely talking about wild hypotheticals.
But I'm right about one of these things. I'm right about one of these things. One of these things will happen. I don't know which one yet. One will happen.
I have a hard time thinking that Alberta will take this lying down and won't press as hard as they possibly can.
And if they don't, Danielle Smith's political career is over.
Yeah, I do think
she's
so.
Done. She's done. If she doesn't, if she gives the citizens the opportunity and then she puts a stop to it, she's done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Remember when I said buckle up at the beginning? Put on your 5-point harness.
There's a lot of wild scenarios. There's a lot of wild scenarios.
I heard a bunch of disaffected conservatives saying, "Oh, well, don't worry, 100 days, another snap election's coming." I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it will be.
Here's
be
why.
before 4
Here's why.
years, for sure.
But here's why. If the Blocs and the Conservatives come together, they still don't have enough. They still need the NDPs.
Yeah, no.
And the NDPs will, or all the Liberals need are 3 NDPs.
Yeah.
They just need 3 NDPs to not vote, and they're good. They have their. So I don't think there's going to be a snap election.
No,
I think we got at most 4 years, maybe less. But it's a bumpy ride is ahead of us.
But man, I can't believe that Alberta's like they've made all this stuff. They've changed all these things, and it was not for no reason. The sentiment is strong. You just go to our video, Tim Stevens, that we posted on YouTube. It's got thousands of views and a lot of comments from Albertans who are saying it is absolutely time to get out of this country. Andrew, it's a wild time in Canadian politics. It'll be interesting to see how we move forward. I would suggest to everybody that you would watch the video that we put out if you have not seen it, on the fact that God has Canada right where he wants it right now. If it's for judgment on our nation, well, we well deserve it. These are things that we have to understand, and we have to be in prayer. We have to give ourselves to the Lord. We have to do the hard work that we continue to talk about on the show of building communities, building churches, building families that are dedicated to the Lord, that are built on the testimony of God, that possess the very light of God, that fight doing battles with the two-edged sword of the Word of God. All these things are super important, and that's what we have to keep in mind. And there's one political maxim which gives me comfort, and that is, as John Newton once said, the Lord, that is Jesus, reigns. And that is the good news that we can take forward with us, no matter the outcome of what happens. Mark Carney might be the PM of Canada, but Jesus Christ is the King of Kings, the Lord of the Lords, the ruler of the kings of the earth. He is seated on his throne, and he is reigning and ruling, and he has dominion from sea to sea to sea. And that is our great comfort.
I might be I'm not worried. I'm not scared. I'm not anxious. Now, maybe I'm riding the nuclear bomb like a cow, waving my hat as it's falling down to the earth. But I'm smiling because I know that God's doing exactly with our country as he pleases, and it's for our good as his people and for his glory. And so there's it's bumpy. Listen, bumpy, dark days are ahead. Let's not sugarcoat it. No. There are dark days ahead. There are difficult days ahead. It's going to get heavy, but I am not worried, and I am not fearful, and I'm not anxious, and I don't think you should be either. Now,
we were built for such a time as this, Andrew.
I also have the benefit of taking my own advice from 4 years ago and saying that I've planted myself in a community with other believers that are ready to fight and build together and care for and love one another. So I'm sure many of you who said, no, we'll stick it out and we'll stay either alone in the middle of nowhere or with our squishy, flaky church and didn't move, you're probably feeling the crunch right now because now you feel very alone with no one to support you. So maybe, just maybe, you'll listen to us now. So maybe now you're thinking, oh, we got to get out. We got to, no. Maybe now you should finally listen to what we were trying to bring to bear years ago. It's you need to take your family, make some sacrifices, and go be with other like-minded believers in solid churches and communities where you can build and fight together, where you can educate your children, and you can be ready to thrive for the next 2 generations. You can't do it on your own. That's why I'm not scared, because I know the people who are around me, and we have one another. We'll take care of one another. So maybe you need to do that. And if you're thinking where, well, again, you can email us. You can email us, libertydispatch@pm.me, and I'll help you relocate, not to the States, don't go, but to somewhere else in Canada.
Anyways, in conclusion, ldcanada.substack.com. That's where you can go to get all our stuff. Full interview episodes, which we have many. All the content we have is over
Bitcoin
at LD
webinar
Canada.
session tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern time.
We'll see
That's
you
happening.
there. Be there or be square. We really appreciate you for tuning in. You started off with a proverb, Andrew, so I will end with a proverb. This is Proverbs 26:11 through 12. Like a dog that returns to his vomit is a fool who repeats his folly. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than him. We will not say peace, peace when there is no peace, but we will say to you, for freedom, Christ has set you free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Till next time, everybody, God bless you. We'll catch you later.
Liberty Dispatch has been brought to you by SDG Media. If you want to stay in touch with us and all things Liberty Dispatch, join our email list, or support the show, head over to ldcanada.substack.com.